It's my honor to introduce Dr. Martina Egedusevic, a pioneer in civil engineering and environmental management. Driven by the 2014 Balkan floods, her Ph.D. research highlights forests as the nature's unsung heroes in flood defense. With expertise spanning from Serbia to Scotland and innovative projects, Dr. Egedusevic redefines flood management through nature-based solutions. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Egedusevic on the stage.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I lost my voice yesterday, so I will do my best to deliver this speech. Today I will talk a bit about nature-based solutions that I has been researched and how I came into that point that I want to do that, and what was my main driver to decide to go on this field. So basically, I did most of my education in Balkans. I finished my high school in Trebinje, and it was like really tough high school, gymnasia. And when I finished that, university was very easy, actually, because we had a lot of challenges over there, learning things so fast, delivering things so fast, and academically also learning about different things. And then I did my my university degree in Belgrade in Serbia, so I chose civil engineering. Because my father was a part of the one big Yugoslavian company building the dams all around the world. And I was thinking, why not I can do that? But then I ended up with a completely different field, obviously, and I did my PhD in Edinburgh in Scotland. And my career spans in between industry, public sector, research, and industry again, then public sector again, and universities. A question I get very often from many people is why I decided to do a PhD. So it's because Balkan flood from the May 2014 hit me so much in my personal front yard, as you can see. So that used to be my car. I liked a lot. And pretty much all city has been devastated. 90% of the Obrenovac city has been flooded. My house was under flood 2.5 meters, and I was on my bottom, to be honest, because I was thinking, like, I do work as a flood protection engineer, and I'm flooded. That's really like, it's a funny, but in another way, I was thinking like that I haven't learned a lot how to act as a part of the community during the flooding, and I actually didn't know how to help the people, because many people came to me, asked me what to do, how I clean my house, where I start, what I gonna do with this, what I gonna do with that. And I was like, I don't have an answer, I don't know what to do. So we spent like 3 months just cleaning a house, like from the mud and all this water. And I was thinking all the time, there is something I can do better here. And it's why I decided to do a PhD in nature-based solutions, because obviously those traditional solutions doesn't work anymore very well. And now I will give like examples of the projects I did during my career, and also the project I did like during my PhD. So basically, first of all, like to say what are the nature-based solutions, because many people just imagine that's just like you planted trees and you are safe. There is many different replications what nature-based solutions means. Like you can do, for example, different ponds, use the leaky barriers, plant the trees as well, then improve your land use, or how you're gonna basically reduce the pollution of the water and runoff. And when we come to modeling, that's really complicated at the moment, because using different solutions, imagine like different solution in one catchment. So for each solution, you have to do the basically different model. But now things are getting a bit better in a term of modeling, because we have AI, and then we can join the different models together, and that's getting better, I would say. And there's different terms referring to the nature-based solutions. In United Kingdom, they're trying to invent the new terms, and basically that means that they're kind of competing, like who has a better term, but I will stay with the nature-based solutions, basically. So one of the catchments I work on that was my case study during the PhD, is actually a small catchment in Scotland, 12 kilometers square. It's very steep catchment. They don't have much options to implement anything that's traditional, so they decided to go with the forest. And basically, like, flood occurs on the bottom of the village because catchment is very steep, water is coming down on the bottom and block the bridges and then flood basically the whole village. As I said, they didn't have much options except going with the forest, but then when they decided to do that, it was a lot of discussions. Is it good to do it or not? Because local council was very offensive against the methods they want to use, like they want to use a plow cultivation. That's very like extensive one, like it will invert the soil. And then they was thinking it will be creating a lot of mess around the catchment. Actually, a lot of sediment will be going down and a lot of water will be going down. And then they was like talking for years, and on the end they decided to have a researcher like proving that concept is good, and how I came into this place to research the different cultivations. What has been done there, we actually did a lot of research across the cultivations. We prove what each of them is doing in a term of like water, sediment, how much water contains each of them when it comes to the floods, but also what's going on when the drought happens in a catchment. So we basically delivered kind of learning about those cultivations and understanding before all. And kind of like we talk a lot about impact in UK. That means that when we do some research, we have to do impact on a community and how that impact actually looks like. When I did this research, I talk a lot with the local community, making them understand what we're doing, what I do, what my results does do, and how they can understand them. And on the end, this community formed something called Majesty resilient group, so that they can be prepared much better when the flood comes in the scene. They will not be just like, oh, I have to sit at home, there is a flood, and someone will save me. So they can also do something during the flooding. But this catchment was a really good test for the forest. And after the forest grown, we actually didn't have a flood in a catchment several years, and still didn't happen because I still follow up on what's going on. Also during this project, I have a lot of kind of inspirational students experience. Sleepy student is actually my husband. He was going with me on the field helping me, and he's still alive. So also like different people work in a different way. I also learned how to teach people at the field, how to teach them to collect data, what to do with the data, and different stuff. There is a lot of animals when you measure something in the nature, so you are just excited. There is a pig, actually was like a fox in your instrumentation. Then the next project is about like basically how we use woody debris. That's a very popular solution in the UK because this solution basically is very simply implemented in the different catchments, and I think this is a video, but I can't play it, doesn't matter. So leaky barriers, actually, they kind of, what they do, when I first time actually saw this, I was just like, this doesn't work at all. I mean, what this can do in some catchment. But actually, they reduce the like flood wave, and also they can act very well during the droughts because they're creating like a small pools, and then the species in a catchment can survive during the droughts. And also, one very important thing they do, they delay the flood wave for 2 minutes. And when you think about that, 2 minutes is nothing. But if you have 50 of them in a catchment, imagine how long that will actually delay the flood wave. What does that mean? We can respond better. We can go on the bottom of the catchment or area, and we can say like, oh guys, it will be flooding. It won't be huge, but you can still put your stuff up in your upper floor, or you can evacuate the care home, you can evacuate the school on a time, and do a lot of things in 1 or 2 hours, actually. So it makes sense. Okay. There is now, my video is playing. So then, you can also implement them in different ways. In England, a lot of land is owned by farmers. So the farmers like do a lot of measures related to the flooding, and we're trying to teach them how to do that. So basically they can be natural, semi-natural, they can be completely engineered, then semi-engineered. You can actually just like basically play with the nature. Sometimes those debris just fall down by themselves and you just put them more in the same place. So there is a kind of variety of styles that can be applied across the catchment. And also like people are not just playing with that. They also do the different community projects where community is engaged, and they do like putting the debris inside of the catchment by themselves, and then like being a part of the big project like this one, Panel 2050, where actually the small town is very much in danger of flooding. And then when the flood happened, they're completely cut down. No one can come over to help them. And one night they was in a pub and they was like, you know what, guys, we can't continue living like this. Let's make a project, like to help ourselves. And they very succeeded. And my friend Heather, who is like leading this project, she did so many good things, educating community, then putting those debris into the catchment, and total engagement. They even become very good spot for tourism now. And it's completely like lovely what they did actually. And then, except those very small projects I said, there is also like big projects like Peru. You probably heard that in 2017 El Nino effect that happened in Peru. And then country was pretty much devastated. 1.1 million people was affected directly. Destruction of critical infrastructure and the schools and pretty much a lot of things. So what has been done there? That means that a lot of different system has to be approached from the different sides, like integrating catchment scale flood protection. Then 7 urban drainage system has been also approached, and 7 gully treatments. That means sediment control pretty much. And how that has been done? Basically by those 3 important steps. But for me, it's lovely that this project actually included capacity building, because when you see the trees, you just think like, oh, this is really simple. I just see the tree and tree will grow. But it's not like that actually, because a lot of trees actually will not grow. You have to like, you have to replace them. So they build also the local nursery network for the trees, and they educate the people how to replace those trees, like when it's needed. And also like, it's not just like, I don't like projects when we come over, we implement something, and we just go, and we never transfer the knowledge to the local population, and then they don't know how to behave even when the new crisis come into. So this project actually had a lot of capacity building for the local people, educating them on governance, institutional management, and natural infrastructure as well. And that's great. So that means that 16 million people actually are protected now. 17 river catchment has been approached, and 56 million trees has been seeded. And that's like a really huge project. Other than that, I will talk a bit now about smart sensing. So that's a really nice project. I actually work with my colleagues at University of Exeter. What we did here, we developed a smart sensor and sensing device system actually for the, that will become eventually early warning system for the landslides and flood-prone sites. And we combine the lab data and data from the field and use the machine learning. This is the full name of the project if you want to Google it later on. So also this project is known as rolling smart stones because we use a lot of stones like during the process of implementations. Then smart sensors are also very popular nowadays. We try to make everything smart actually. So people are using different approach, how to test them. Do they do that in a lab? Do they using the rocks from the field? Then they developing the rocks by themselves and putting the sensors inside. And basically we try to address one very simple question, and that is that detecting the movements and grasp the magnitude of movements actually. So we were just thinking like what this movement gonna tell me basically, and how I actually can use this information for addressing the floods and landslides. So what we did, I don't have a clue what's on this this slide related like to the features of the sensors, but my colleague from my team was like, you have to put this slide inside. But basically the main point is like, you can see how big is the sensor. Actually, it's very small, and it looks like a postmark basically, and it has a lot of features inside, obviously. How we did put them in a field. We was thinking a lot about that. Like, we was thinking, should we use the rocks from the field? Should we actually like develop our own rock? Should we do this? Should we do that? But then we ended up actually having a slide cube, and we just put a sensor inside of it and like put the resin on the top of it. It was very good solution because we have always available solution. Then the same size, mass, density, shape, and we can put it on the field very easily. But as well, like, it was a lot of problems in the term, like sometimes people find them on the landslides and they use them for the sitting place. And we was like detecting the movement, but actually wasn't that. So, but the good thing is that they are like, for example, yellow, and then when you fly the drone around, then you can see them very easily on the picture you created. So, and in the hydrological sites, we actually used like woody debris to test them. It was a plan that we will travel to Nepal and do that, but in that period, it was still post-corona time. It was not possible to go anywhere due to restrictions, so we used those woody debris sites to test the system. And how we do that, we make a hole and just to put a sensor inside and resin again. And yeah, it was a lot of drilling. So on the end, we discovered like this project is still on. Now we have a PhD student working on it, but we definitely discovered for now that it's becoming early warning system for floods and landslides. We even improved the features of the sensor and also like try to continue kind of collecting the data from many sites we have across the UK. Because that's the key for this system. If you have more data, like your model will become much better, obviously. Yeah, and then this kind of message I want to say is that working on all these small projects, you're collecting different data, you kind of like doing different stuff. I work with the trees a lot, someone else do something else. But then we are kind of part of this understanding of the natural processes. And as better we understand them, we're creating a more resilient societies, obviously. And as you can see, one person is displaced by every second by disaster. There is different disasters, obviously, not just floods, earthquakes, and different things. And pretty much every few months, we heard something happen somewhere, like Turkey, Bosnia, USA. And disasters are parts of our life, obviously, on the daily basis. And on the end, like, if we talk about Bosnia Herzegovina disaster risk reduction perspective, to be honest, I never worked in Bosnia Herzegovina, like, on this topic, but I was reading a lot recently about what happened in Jablanica, and that's a very devastating event. I think we are very good, like, responding on something, like responding on some very bad event, and I think, like, that's kind of being adrenaline junkie on those things. But then, like, after that, we just don't have that kind of agenda, what we want to do after this happened. So basically, we are a country that increased to the many climate-related risks. And what does that mean? That these events, or I don't know, like, not just floods, that will happen more often. Like we had 2014. Now, 10 years after, we have like October in Jablanica. Many people died. It's a kind of extensive damage. We still didn't even measure, I think, how big damage was created by this event. But I do believe strongly that in Jablanica is actually man-made disaster. It's not natural disaster at all. So basically, if you don't control something that happens in your catchment, if you don't know what's going on, I mean, these events then will increase, basically, if someone do not control what's going on in a catchments, unfortunately. And on the end, like kind of overview is that we need like those 5 points. But for me, most important is actually community education. What you can do as a person that you kind of not increase disasters. It's kind of like crucial that someone has explained you that you can't cut a tree that's not planned for a cutting that year, or you can't do the fire in the forest, like because you want to have a barbecue or something like that. Like for me, that's kind of no-go. And we have to work a lot on climate adaptation and strategic planning, because Bosnia already has like a, I would say, very institutionally complicated agenda. So it's kind of like institutionally so hard to act and talk to people as well. And we have to forget that, because disasters, they don't have a borders. They can happen in a border or in Federation or Republic of Srpska. It doesn't mean anything, like we still have work on them. And on the end, like after many projects, I gained so many skills. My 3 main skills is that I know how to use a mallet, much better than before. Then I know how drought in Scotland looks like. That's still really funny for me, because I thought that UK doesn't ever have droughts, and I know how to survive a flood. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Egedusevic, for this amazing presentations. Do we have any questions? Yes, can someone please just pass the microphone? Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
You said to reach a people, isn't it? We can do anything, literally. Like, I would start from schools. I tried to do some education in Serbia when I was living there, but I think it should become like a really agenda at the schools, that we sometimes have those kind of presentations or experience with the students, like that we explain them better what's going on. I don't know, there's very popular opinion that the kids in Netherlands, they kind of building embankments still until they are 4, so they understand they're in danger of flooding. And it's also like, my parents think like this, like, there is a flooding, I will stay in my house and someone will save me, like, you know. I really hate that social capital we have at the Balkans. So we just need to talk more about that in an interesting way as well, just to attract the younger population, because I can't change my parents, obviously. They are too old for that. Sorry, Mom.
Of course.
Martina, great presentation. I'm just curious to know whether anyone in the Bosnian government, local, whether it's Federation or Republika Srpska, has ever contacted you to provide critical advice after, or definitely not before disasters, because they don't do that. But has anyone contacted you after the disasters to provide your input? Because one of the challenges that we have is we have a lot of people in this country who think they know it all, and we have a lot of incredible experts out there in the world who originally come from here, but they never get asked for their opinion. So I'm just curious to know, have you been asked for your opinion?
No, I haven't been asked, but I asked myself what I can do. So I just kind of put myself into the order. Basically, I talk a bit about it, I think, on N1 television, like what can be done better in Jablanica. And to be honest, it's so hard talk to people here when you're coming from abroad, because they assume you as a spine or something like that, I don't know. So, so I do sometimes provide advice for the OSCE when they ask me for that, but it's very little, I would say. And they are also not, the main kind of field is not DRR, disaster risk reduction. That should be somewhere in the local institutions, I would say. But it's hard to talk to people. I was trying, when I was delivering this project with the sensors, I was trying to find my case study in Bosnia, because Bosnia has so many opportunities to develop early warning system, and that system stay in a place as well afterwards. But I mean, people absolutely don't have a sense to even respond to your email, and especially because my title is not professor, then I'm totally unnamed. Sorry to be completely honest. But then if someone, I would just say, because there's so many people here, if someone like wants to do PhD or even a master, we can try for that. And if you find this field interesting, like that, I would love to supervise someone from here. And all my students actually was English, Scottish, or like pretty much UK-based people.
Okay, thank you, Martina. So if you're interested in exploring this field, please feel free to contact her. Do we have any more questions? Or are we wrapping this up? Okay, no more questions. Can I get another round of applause, please, for Dr. Egedusevic?